Hello everybody, welcome to the Tiny Fibre Studio. My name's Bex and you are very welcome to come and join me today for a little bit of craft room organisation. It's a little bit different from the other videos that I normally do, which are about spinning and knitting. If you find this video useful, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment and subscribe, because all of those things really help to support the channel and help other people find this content as well. And in terms of comments, what I would love to know in this video is, what is your favourite tip for craft room organisation? Whether you are a knitter, a spinner, crocheter, paper crafter of some description, it would be really interesting to know what organisation tips you've used that have worked best for you. Way back at the beginning of the Tiny Fibre Studio channel, I mentioned that the reason it's called Tiny Fibre Studio is that if I ever managed to save enough for a house deposit and bought a house, I would have a fibre studio, but it would probably need to be quite tiny. Turns out I did manage to save for and buy a house, which is cool, and I have my fibre studio. I'm sitting in it right now, but it does need a little bit of organisation. It's been a bit neglected while I sorted out other bits of the house. So now is the fibre studio's time to get some good storage and organisation going on. These storage options are second-hand, so although you might not be able to get exactly the same thing, you can probably get something fairly similar, or just apply what you see in this video to your own home and the stuff that you already have. This is a two-part video, so in this video I will be looking mostly at my yarn storage and organisation, and in the second video I will be introducing you to the rather fabulous storage furniture that I have for my fibre and my spinning tools and all of that stuff. So this is it, this is the Fibre Studio. It's a little bit of a weird shaped space that I'm working with. It's about 8 feet wide at one end, and it's about 2.5 feet wide at the other end, with an alcove on one side which currently houses a cat tree. That's going to move to a different room. Speaking of cats, they are the reason that I can't have open yarn storage like you might see in a lot of other people's craft rooms. Saffy here is a chewer of yarn, so everything has to be stored in a way that she can't get to. Otherwise she will grab it and run off with it and chew it. So open yarn storage, not a thing in this house. Fortunately, I am a big fan of original mid-century furniture, and they were very big on cabinets in the 60s and 70s. There were a lot of different options, so until I decided on exactly what I wanted, I've been using the classic craft room storage solution, which is IKEA Kallax. That's what I've got at this end of the room. I use the Lekman boxes for the Kallax, but the cats could easily get their claws in the cutout squares, so I just cut a piece of cardboard out from the Lekman packaging to put inside the front. Once it's full of fibre, dexterous humans can push the cardboard back and get their fingers in to pull the box out, but the cats can't. I'll give you a quick tour of what's in here at the moment. So in this one we've got Hand-Spun. There's another drawer of Hand-Spun over here as well. More Hand-Spun in here, along with underneath this there's some hand-painted top. Let's not talk about the fact that it's labelled samples, we'll ignore that for the moment. Thank you, Dexter, helping. This one is carded fibre, so bats, roving, any of that kind of stuff. This one is labelled coloured tops, i.e. dyed fibre, some solid, some blended tops. I don't have a huge amount of blended tops. And then we've got undyed tops in here, so any of the natural colours will go in there. In this one are my fine hand carders, also the Acheworks Lazy Kate and spare whirls for the matchless. There's also things like matchless bobbins and that kind of stuff in there as well. And then finally, excuse the litter tray, but it is clean, I've got things like my hand combs, my standard carders, flick carder, that kind of stuff. Oh, Dexter, get out of the box. So that's the storage end of the room. At the other end, Saffy, Saffy, can you not do that? This is my little mini living room area. I have a living room downstairs, but this room gets more daylight and it has a nice view, so I want to be able to sit and knit or spin here during the day. What I already have in here is a nice comfy armchair. This is the IKEA Stocksund armchair. It fits me and 2 cats, and I can curl up in there and sleep if I want to, along with the Strandmon footstool, also from IKEA. The cats sit there and look out of the window, but it's also there as a footstool when I need it. They did do a version of this footstool that had storage built into it, which would have been perfect, but I missed it. I don't know how long they carried it for, but it never seemed to appear in the store that's closest to me, which was really annoying, and I couldn't get it for home delivery either. Then over here I've got 2 of the nest of 3 tables. This is G-Plan's quadrille range, again original 1960s, 70s. The other table is downstairs. Basically when I sit and spin on the mini spinner, I pull the smaller one out to put the mini spinner on. And then I've still got the bigger one to put my tea on or to hold the laser Kate when I'm plying. In case you're interested, the jar on the table there is a Hornsey pottery biscuit jar from the Saffron range. And yes, it does have biscuits in it for those times when I'm really hungry, but I'm trapped underneath a pile of cats. And just on the floor there is the eBags Crew Cooler 2 that I keep my mini spinner in. And then that fits into the front bag on my Brompton. That's generally how I'm transporting my mini spinner around these days. Then we've got this lovely cabinet, which I just bought from my local vintage furniture shop. This is a Beaver and Tapley or Beaver and Tapley cabinet, which fits really well in this space. It's only about 30 centimetres deep, and because the legs allow it to clear the skirting board, it's able to sit flush against the wall. The idea for this is that the glass section is going to hold my yarn, so that as I'm knitting I can look over and think about what my next project might be without any danger of the cats getting hold of it. But it's also got closed cabinets at the bottom, which is going to be really handy for storing other bits and pieces. So let's start filling it up. The mini spinner can go in the bottom here, apparently along with 1 cat. See what I mean? See what I'm dealing with? Come on, Dexter, at least be on camera if you're going to do this. Hopefully you understand why I can't have yarn in open storage. This is the reason. What are you doing? What are you even doing? They're not even kittens. These 2 are like 2 years old. Dexter, for crying out loud. You don't fit in there, do you, really? Here we go. Yeah, now you can't really get out, can you? So anyway, in this section, this is going to be for books. So this is my Essential Spinners library. Things like the Fleece and Fibre source book, Yarnitecture, Spinner's Book of Yarn Design, Spinner's Book of Fleece. I'm also going to have some more Hornsey pottery in here. I've just won the green version of this jar on eBay, but I'm going to use the brown one as a placeholder until that arrives. These are from the Heirloom range, and I love this pattern. I've got the medium jar for spindles. The jug I'm going to use for orifice hooks, oil, any of that kind of stuff. And then I've got the little blue cup, which I'm going to use for yarn that I use for tying up hanks of yarn when I've finished spinning them. So that's all nice and safe in there. A few more books down here, and I've also got a couple of pouches that I keep my interchangeable needle sets in, so those will also go in here. Then my spinning journal, which is a Project Life album, and extra cards for that. And now onto the commercial yarn. The only yarn that I'm going to put in this cabinet is yarn that is in a hank because I want it to stack neatly. It also has to be only yarn that I don't already have plans for, because I want to be inspired to find patterns for yarn that I might otherwise forget about. And I also want to keep any yarn that I do have plans for together separately so that I don't forget that it's intended to be used in one project. So let's have a sort through, and I'm going to start pulling out any of the yarn that matches that criteria. And this is what I'm left with. That's not too bad. So I'm going to start filling the cabinet up, and I'm going to try and fill it in a sort of colour gradient if I can. Unsurprisingly, quite a lot of greys, turquoises, teals. I've got some bright greens, purples and pinks is another kind of favourite area. Skein from Babel's Travelling Yarns there, that peachy one at the bottom right. And the blue and pink stripy one is from what is now Eden Cottage Yarns. That was a one-off that she did some years ago. Then onto the hand-spun. I'm going to apply exactly the same rule as I did with the commercial yarn. There we go, so that's everything to go in the cabinet of that lot. The hanks that I'm putting on the top right are ones which were designed to work in sets. So things like the World of Wool 5 Shades of Grey Gradient Pack. Also some of the mill waste that I spun, because that's all the same weight. I want to make sure that I use it together and I don't see a single skein of it and pull that out to use in something. Another little set there that was designed to be all spun together. And then some World of Wool Corriedale. That was the carded Corriedale in the sunflower colourway, which I love. And then those Hilltop Cloud sock fibre sets that I spun for the 51 Yarns fractal and self-striping episodes. And then on the top left, we're going to put single hanks. A lot of those ones on the left are very early skeins of mine. And again, you can see a colour theme emerging because it's very similar to the commercial shelf underneath. Teals, greens, a little bit of kind of reddy pinks. That's a little gradient turquoise and pink and goes through grey in the middle, just going in there. There we go, nice little colour gradient. So that's all of the yarn put away. I'm also photographing, measuring and weighing every hank and updating my Ravelry stash so I know exactly what I've got, and it's going to be easier to find suitable patterns. Dexter obviously has to help supervise the photography. So that's kind of easy enough with the commercial yarn because obviously it's all labelled, but with the hand spun it's a little bit more tricky. What I ended up doing was weighing the yarn, measuring the length of it, the length of the hank, and then essentially from that information you can then work out the number of yards per pound. You can work out the total length of the skein, and I've put all of that information in on Ravelry. Again, you know, Dexter obviously thinks that he can do a better job. So that's where we'll leave it for part one. All of the yarn storage is all organised, and in part two we're going to be organising the fibre storage and also a lot of spinning tools and fibre prep tools and all that sort of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment about your favourite organisation ideas, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be kept up to date and actually notified. You'll need to just press the little bell icon as well. In between now and the next video, you can find me on Instagram as Tiny Fibre Studio, and on Ravelry I'm Ibex. So hope you enjoyed this. If you are dealing with coronavirus, keep safe. I will see you again soon. All right, take care.